self-care is not selfish. It's actually the biggest part of showing love that you could offer to your family, your friends, and your community.
As women, we nurture and take care of the world. And so it's just so important to make your health, your self-care numero uno. So
get around people who are going where you want to go and who are where you want to be. And that's exactly what I did. I wanted to be in real estate, so I got around people who were doing things in real estate that I wanted to do.
So you might not be able to move things around or change what happened to you, but if you can change the way that you see it and how you're reacting to it, there's a way.
Just do what you have to do. There's no excuse. This morning, I knew that if I didn't get up at 4 in the morning and clear out my emails and do everything that I needed to do.
You don't want the government to dictate or a judge to dictate how your hard-earned sacrifice and wealth gets distributed to your family and your loved ones.
Our culture is embedded in American culture. There are people who come to America and engage in American culture, which is Black culture. So Juneteenth is really about Black culture, and it's about celebrating us, celebrating the different diasporas of Black people, even the dialects.
Hello, and hello, everybody. Welcome to another beautiful Thursday. My name is Athenia Ronnie, CEO and founder of Juneteenth NYC, and we are super excited to have you for another amazing Lunch and Learn Thursday with Juneteenth. Last month, we talked about all things hair, and this weekend, we have our Black Hair show that will be showcasing. We look forward to having you. We're going to tell you some information about that a little bit later. But this month, February, Black History Month. Do you know that today, well, not today, but this month is the 100th annual celebration for Black History Month? A lot of people don't know that, and that hasn't been shared widely. So I'm letting you know today. So tell a friend that this is the 100th anniversary of celebrating Black history. And we hope that when we get to the 200th year, that we will have it more infused into our society. And what we're going to actually be talking about today is exactly some of this, right? Going a little deeper, understanding some of the systems that keep us from being great. Like, I know I'm great. I was born to be great because God is my witness. He put me on this earth for greatness. So I hope that you are walking in your greatness and your purpose as well. And today, I know the person that we have that we're going to be speaking to, he is coming back again. He was with us last year, I want to say around the same time, and he was so amazing. He did a fabulous job talking about just systems. And now he is going to tell a little bit of story of some background. And his name is Brother Gene. He is the president and chief consultant of Tossin Consulting Group, LLC, a senior level management executive for more than 40 years of experience in strategic leadership, operations, business development, and quality improvement. After retiring from ETS in Princeton, New Jersey, to the New Englanders who are frigid as we're getting into the 60s and 70s down here in the South. But just saying, he continues to be the founder of the consulting group and continues to advance organizational excellence and community celebrated leadership. He also served on the leadership team of the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey as an executive director of the Training and Development Institute, strengthening capacity and opportunity for Black-owned businesses and professionals. He's a graduate of Thomas Edison State University with degrees in both political science and social sciences. I always wanted to do social sciences. I'm a psych major. But Brother Gene also holds a 6 Sigma Green Belt certification and a nonprofit board of consultant certification from Board Source in Washington, D.C. So as you can hear, our Brother Gene has an extensive background, and we are really excited. And today we're going to be talking about a city worth fighting for. So we can bring Brother Gene to the stage. Hello. How you doing?
I'm doing well, sister. How are you?
I am amazing. As I was sharing earlier, this is session 3 for me today. So I am excited. I'm energized. I am rolling with the punches, and I'm just really thankful to have you here in our month of Black book series, talking with authors that have curated books. Last week we had some dope sisters that came on to talk about an anthology, and today we're going to be talking to you about A City Worth Fighting For.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
To jump in, tell us, what is A City Worth Fighting For all about?
Okay, so thank you. I'm so honored to be back. We had a fun time last year. I really enjoyed that, reviewing our history and stuff. And I never started out to be an author. Matter of fact, the last thing I thought I would ever do is write a book. But
I think none of us does.
in the fall, some of the young people in our town mentioned to me, Brother Gene, I think I want to run for office. And these are very bright, very community focused folks. And just being a leader of a city, and with your heart, right? You need to have everything else that comes with that, right? So if you think about the systems that intentionally or unintentionally oppress and exploit us, that gets in the way. And so unless you have a knowledge and some competence around systems, you're probably not going to be as successful as you could potentially be. And so I said that I have a responsibility to not only these young people, but I'm a voter, I'm a homeowner. And so I need to set expectations and a possible agenda that I can get behind to support. So I started writing articles in the local newspaper. And when I got around the 1st of December, 12 op-eds in, I said, nobody's going to remember that in November I wrote an op-ed about economic development and fiscal responsibility. So I decided to put it in a book so that the folks running and the people who are going to be voting would have a tool by which to make decisions, right? And so there we got to a city worth fighting for, because I live in Trenton. I've lived here for almost 20 years. I love this city. I'm an adopted son of Trenton. I'm originally from Newark. And so I'm at the age now where I have fewer years in front of me than behind me. And we are required and responsible for what we know. And so it gives me the opportunity to share what I know to help make things better. I think it was, I don't know if you ever saw the movie, A Kingdom of Heaven. But
no, I haven't.
Okay, Orlando Bloom is in this movie, and it's about the Christians, the Crusaders, and the Muslims in Jerusalem. So it's a great movie. But in the early parts of the movie, there is a sign up in the blacksmith shop, and one of the Crusaders says, "What does that say?" And Orlando Bloom says, "What man is a man if he does not try to make the world better?" So there you go. A city worth fighting for. So that kind of sums it up.
I like that. What man is a man without a city worth fighting for? So to go back to what you were talking about initially about the systems, right? I want to dig a little deep into that space.
Yes, ma'am.
Juneteenth, specifically this year, has gone through a lot of systematic red tape, so to speak, right? Because we're nonprofit organizations, we thrive off of grants and proposals, sponsorships from big organizations, but with the way the city has changed so many things, and not even just the city, but the country, because of our new administration, it has started to open up like Pandora's box, right? And I think during Black Lives Matter, I feel like Pandora's box was being opened, but in another way, in a positive light towards African Americans. And now I feel like we're going in a regress, backwards. So you talked about you being sought out after by leaders or people who are looking to go into leadership roles. What are the biggest leadership gaps you see in local government and community institutions today that are challenging and plaguing our African American businesses?
Okay, so I guess the place to start is when you think about municipalities or cities in particular, because that's what this book targets. Municipalities are large scale service organizations. In other words, they're in place to manage operations and services for the residents and the voters, right? And so when you think about one of the huge challenge for me, as I see it, is, I'm going to go back, we're going to do a little history lesson, right? So if we go back to the mid 60s, the Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, Equal Housing Act, Johnson's, what I'll loosely say, war on poverty, was a great idea. I think execution was flawed. So prior to 1964, as it relates to Black people, we owned businesses, we owned farms, we did all of that stuff, right? So now that we have integration and we could spend our money with other folks, we stop spending our money with ourselves. And principally, the structure of municipalities was to help manage poverty. In other words, people need food, clothing, and shelter. And when that's your focus, if you are developing people, then you create dependency.
Right.
So we went from owning everything to now being dependent on systems that, quite frankly, really didn't have our best interests at heart, right? And so I think that strategy is everything. And I think that we need to change our focus or our strategies on creating opportunity. And I'll say this, and then I'll pull up the first slide that I sent you. Everyone's talking about economic development.
Yeah.
But I think if you remember, I might have said this the last time, that John Harmon, who is the CEO at African American Chamber of Commerce, said to me that, Brother Gene, you really can't talk about true economic development when you have poverty rates of 25, 30, and 35%, right? So we talk about businesses doing business and growing, people becoming entrepreneurs and growing small businesses into medium and large businesses, but you still got people who can't eat.
Right.
So until you prepare the people to benefit from true economic development, you're doing all of us a disservice. So if, James, if you could pull up the first slide for me, please. Yeah, the mission, I'm sorry. There you go. All right, so the driver for the book, the driver for the op-eds is the mission statement of the city of Trenton. And I would say that the problems that exist in Trenton are isolated to Trenton. If you look at the cities, even small towns, where you have large populations of Black and brown people, they have high poverty rates. And so when I'm talking about Trenton, Trenton has a poverty rate of 27+%. Newark is 25. So, and Newark is significantly larger than Trenton. So we need to change how we think. But the driver for this was the mission statement. This is a very good mission statement for the city. And so what I did was I said, how do you make this mission more than words? So James, if you could pull up the second slide for me, please. And so I'm a geek. I have to be honest. I'm a pretty cool geek, but I'm a geek just the same. And so I love Venn diagrams. I love Venn diagrams because Venn diagrams are great at illustrating the interrelationships of things. So that mission statement actually provided the foundation for this Venn diagram. And you see there are 4 circles: fiscal responsibility, economic growth. I just touched on that a little bit in when I was talking about poverty. Quality government and operational excellence. I talked about that when I talked about municipalities or service organizations. Public safety and community wellness, and then people-centered development. And as you know, as you can see, that each of these Venn diagrams, they overlap. Right. Because every department in City Hall owns a piece of this. And so let's talk about fiscal responsibility. We'll start with the first Venn diagram, and they are in order of my personal priorities. Someone else could see them totally different, but to me, money drives everything. So you got to start. You have to start with money, right?
Absolutely.
So when I say fiscal responsibility, the question we need to ask ourselves is, in the budget, here's a great question. In the budget, how much of that budget is being invested in people? Now, when I say people, I mean staff training and development, and I also mean when you have health and human services, I mean growing people on the outside, right? So historically, folks have said, yeah, you go to college. Now college is out of reach for most, and people are in debt up to the yin yang. So why aren't we investing in career technical education and vocational training? So we're going to get a little more to that later on. But fiscal responsibility, if you don't see in the budget specifically calling out for that type of development, there's a gap in your budget, right? Because untrained people don't perform at the highest levels. So you have to invest in people in order to drive success and transformation. Also, how when you think about your budget, is the budget the same as it was 10 years ago? So example is you just roll forth the next budget, you tweak slightly the numbers without looking and adjusting for priorities. You need to watch out for waste. How much money did we waste because we have 15 people doing this job of 5? So, right. People duplicating efforts when you can take that money and invest in something else, right?
And a lot of it is because, like you said, people are not either being trained properly or they are there are not systems in place, what we call SOP, standard operation procedures, so that people know what role is theirs and what role it should be someone else's.
Yeah, you are on the roll. So, and then this what I'm describing now, I retired from $1 billion nonprofit. When I got there in 2021, I think someone told me that in 2000, they had to borrow money to make payroll. So what was the shift at that organization that drove it to ultimately become a multi-million-dollar organization? I'm going to say the incorporation of quality and building people, right? So that's fiscal responsibility. Is the budget done on time? If the budget should be reviewed by the public in January, is it? That's another question. If not, then that means that the processes associated with developing the budget, those SOPs, aren't being followed or they're non-existent. The second one is around quality government and operational excellence. And when I talk about that, I'm talking, if you're a service organization, you need process quality. You need accountability. You need responsibility. That all falls under the quality and operational excellence. And then public service public safety.
Before you go there,
Mhm.
I just
Yes,
you
ma'am.
said something in ooh, it just hit my spirit as you were talking about this creating operational excellence, right? And just
Mhm.
thinking about, because everything I like to, I'm always taking it back to like when we were enslaved and what operations were in place during that time. And even, people did things out of fear. And then I feel
Mhm.
like afterwards we kind of got to a space where fear was not the same. Like, we weren't fearing that the master was gonna beat us or whip us or hang us or all of these things, but then it went into more so the fiscal fear, like not having enough, not being able to acquire funds. And so people got into the space of just doing what they could, however they could do it.
Mhm.
And I feel
Mhm.
like that's where a lot of systems were then lost, or maybe even like to your point, not created. So if we in our community, the African American community, had a lack of systems in our household, how then were we taught, or where would you say that we would be taught to have systems to now bring forth into our businesses or into the entrepreneurial space? So
Mhm.
can you talk a little bit about where there was a gap there and how that might have been filled in that space? Because when you said operational systems, that was something that was just like, oh, like there, I'm just thinking about things that you were talking about, having a standard, and then what's the ramification if that standard is not met. And I think about
Mhm.
being a parent and how a lot of households, they don't have that.
Mhm.
There's a
Mhm.
lot of issues where that is showing up. For us, it was just, oh, just whip them to get them in order because that's what we
Mhm.
knew. So like
Mhm.
how do we fill that gap in space?
Yeah, so I think the first place, if we're going to make it more personal for me as I think about it,
Absolutely.
um, if we go back to prior to 1964, families were crucial. So the family structure, where you had a dad, a mom, and children, things changed drastically after that. But it goes. Remember, if you go back to slavery, the families were separated, right? But
Right.
that reality that the family nucleus has changed, and not being able to manage that, the role of a man in the household is to be the provider. What does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
In today's times, where you think about just the general cost of living, too often, if the role of the woman in the family is to rear the child, it doesn't exist the same now because things cost so much, and so women need to partner,
Being a,
right?
right,
So
and being
as
a
a
worker.
husband and wife, you need to partner if we're going to live at a certain level. But and then that creates an opportunities for roles to shift, right? So
Right.
when you have these broken homes, so organization, family organization is one thing, but I think there's some principles that have to be taught, and I think I've seen it shift.
Mm-hmm.
A knowledge of self, a respect for self and others,
Mm-hmm.
a collaboration, so that as a family, we are one, we think as one, we act as one, leveraging the strengths, right? So if I think about me and my wife, right? So I have all this corporate stuff, but my wife is incredibly in touch with detail.
Mm.
So what makes us a power couple, in my humble opinion, is the fact that I have this 65-foot strategy thing, but she's able to do the detail stuff. So we leverage both of our strengths. That allows us to make progress, and
Nice.
that's the role. So structure has a lot to do with that. And as we think about families, um, one thing that I find very interesting, is that sometimes the struggle is a barrier to that
Mm-hmm.
organization, right? Because you have, like I said, on the school board, and you have parents who work 2 and 3 jobs just to put food on the table. So then you've got a parent in the house or 2 parents in the house, but they're more likely out the house because they're trying to provide for the house, and so
Absolutely.
that leaves children
Or
um,
raising themselves.
raising themselves. But if we spend time investing in emotional intelligence and critical thinking of our children, they make better decisions, right? So that's how I see this circle rolling into a household. It's about structure, leveraging the strengths of the other to benefit the whole. We don't even do that in business. And I'll give you an example. Back in 2000, I think it was 2001, maybe 2002.
Okay.
I read a book by Jim Collins. It was called Good to Great. And Jim Collins in the book Good to Great said, you have to get the wrong people off the bus, the right people on the bus, and then the right people in the right seats to drive transformation, right? Yeah. So that goes to that point that I just made. So when you think about operational excellence and quality, so often when people get elected, they assign or hire their friends or their relatives, and they aren't quite prepared for the task at hand. If someone's, like I have strengths and I have my own strengths and weaknesses, and I'm at the age right now where I don't mind talking about myself, right? Mm-hmm. So even though I understand budget, I can read budgets very well, I'm not a finance guy. Right. So if I'm gonna if I'm gonna do anything related to finance, I want a finance guy, the guy who understands the intricacies. So I won't just hire anybody to do that work, right? And so now that we're on that topic, so the two circles, right? If you think about an administration, you have the mayor who runs everything, you have a business administrator, you have a finance director, right? Mm-hmm. Those three people, or those at least the two, own those two circles. The volume of responsibility for driving that lies right there, right? And if you are missing one, then it's the responsibility, like if you don't have a finance director and all you have is a business administrator, then that's a huge gap. Yeah. Because money drives everything. The fact that when you think about budgets and ensuring funds are allocated, eliminating waste, getting the way of, because we have to be honest, right? There is corruption, and corruption might not be malice in intent, but if you don't know any better and you just keep doing the same things wrong because someone told you to, that's corruption, right? Yeah. You're complicit in that, right? Yeah. And so I think that to get back to your question, the Black family, the Black community, and then the municipalities, structure is crucial. Are you structured right? Do you have the right people in the right places so that you get best outcomes, right?
That's good. That's good stuff.
And you know what I mean? And public safety, when you have high poverty rates, you'll have high crime rates, and locking everybody up isn't going to change the reality, our collective reality, right?
Right, the mindset of the people.
That's exactly right. So I have a T-shirt that says, you want to reduce gun violence, change the condition of the people. So who, people, if a guy is hungry, I think there's a scripture that says a dog will, it's in the Old Testament, a dog will return to his vomit. So you could take people, put them in church, they start that moral turnaround. But if they can't eat and provide for themselves, they're going to go right back to that thing that helped them to provide for themselves. And so public safety isn't only around the police. It's about community policing. It's about, I think in Newark, as in Trenton, they have street teams. It's about organizations that engage with the community so that there is intervention. So you prevent crime. And preventing crimes, you reduce crime, right? There's a direct relationship there. And then community wellness is, for me, are we making our neighborhoods decent places to live? Right. The only way you do that is through fiscal responsibility, economic growth, operational excellence, and building people, right? So you see where it's overlap, right? Everything overlaps in the center.
Yeah.
Right? And then just think about this, right? So the Black community, we have a hell of a history with police departments, right? Right. I'm just going to be,
unfortunately.
I'm trying to remain optimistic about the future and this whole thing because I have a reason to be optimistic, right? But if the police from the top down are not getting trained and prepared with critical thinking skills and emotional intelligence skills, they're always going to make the wrong decision. Absolutely. Because when you fear the people that you're supposed to serve, you don't treat them right.
Absolutely.
Because you don't come into that engagement with compassion. You're like the guy that's got to bring it down. Not everything needs to be escalated. And critical thinking and emotional intelligence skills allow for de-escalation. If that's not happening in these cities, it's a travesty on the mayor because he owns that. Right.
He has to deal with it, and it's his job to fix it.
That's right. So then I'll just hit the last circle, and then you can ask as many questions as you want.
Sure.
People-centered development focuses on those who work for the city and those who the city serves. People need to be prepared with the necessary competencies or knowledge, skills, and abilities to perform at the highest level for themselves and for others. And I'll give you this, right? So if you think about career technical education skills, and let me back up just a little bit. One of the reasons why poverty is so high in these urban cities is because during the 70s, manufacturing left the cities and went overseas.
Right.
These trade deals forced manufacturing and operations out of our cities and to other countries, right? Mm-hmm. So when that occurred, I don't think they really thought about tomorrow. They're so busy trying to put out fires. But today, Amazon, perfect example, right? Mm-hmm. You see Amazon trucks everywhere. That's logistics and warehousing. Well, guess what? The big trucks, CDL licenses. So a CDL certification from beginning to actually getting the actual license is about $5,500. That could vary. But let's say $5,000 because round numbers are good, right? Starting salary for a CDL license is probably in the high 40s. Mm-hmm. You can get up to six figures with a CDL license.
Absolutely.
With a CDL license. So for $5,500, you can, in a 6-week program, you can transform somebody's life to where they can now, gentrification isn't a problem. Why? Because I can afford to live where I want to live. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So when I say people-centered development, I'm talking about, remember I talked earlier about budgets, right?
Yes.
So imagine if your budget is $200 million and each year the city peels off for people-centered development $1 million and puts it in a fund to fund for their residents training, right? And not just training, a certificate that the person can take anywhere in the country and get a job immediately and provide for their family. So that if a CDL license is $5,500, how many? And I'm just being, now I'm being silly. Remember I talked about that off there. now I'm being silly. How many truck drivers could you do with $1 million? Wait, it even gets gooder than that, right? So if you think about, we're living in a time of technology, cybersecurity certifications. Mm-hmm. You can get a cybersecurity certification for what, $1,500?
Yeah.
The first level. And then you could go do help desk work to make $45,000, $50,000 a year, right? So if our leaders a city worth fighting for, aren't thinking about reducing poverty, and they continue to manage poverty through the nonprofits who, listen, thank God for nonprofits, because we'd be in a hell of a place now. But when nonprofits function on their own strategy, driving things that supports their businesses, the city should drive what is important through a strategy perspective, not the nonprofits. You get where I'm coming from? So anyway, so that all of this came out of that mission statement, which I still think I had wrote one because I didn't think the city had one because I never heard anybody talking about it. So I kept looking, and I went to one of our council folks and said, "Can you share with me the city's mission?" She said, "Yeah, it's on the website." And so she went out and got it for me. But nobody talks about it. If that's not driving the work, we're doing a disservice to the city itself and the people who live in the city. And so that's
and it's also about building the culture. What I heard a lot, the underlying was just building the culture, right?
Yes,
having the wording, having some constant reminders. If it's not front and center, then how are people to live up to it? They're just going in circles. And we have Denise J here. She said, "Brother Gene, I find that we have a benefit of quality candidates who are seeking to serve as mayor of our city. What specific qualities are needed to be successful in this position?"
So the first is they have to have, and it starts with compassion for the city. I think you have to have a heart for the people in the condition of the city in order to step into the work in the right spirit, right?
Absolutely.
And then the second, so I think I said this the last time. Yeah, I'm gonna be as silly again, right? So
silly is good. Come with it. Silly is good.
So I have 2 degrees. I didn't get my first degree until I was 50, which means I ran businesses without.
Did we lose your brother?
It's going to make a difference. However, it shows is that they have stick to it, miss, because it takes 180 credits, right? And it takes money, so it takes commitment. So I would say 2 things. Any kind of degree or certification means that they have been trained and educated with the knowledge that potentially drives success. And then the second, the third thing is they have to have critical thinking skills. And by that I mean in the in the Art of War by Sun Tzu, Sun Tzu says, "He who knows when to fight and when not to fight will always be successful," right?
Absolutely.
So Absolutely. If all you have is your compassionate heart and some knowledge of specific things, you have to look and take an introspective look at yourself and say, am I ready now? Or are there things I need to acquire to help me to be ready later? Because if I get in the position with the mess that we have, if I can't change the reality, and I'm not talking about making things better. See, we get caught up in, oh, I can make things better. We need transformation. If we got the same problems today that we had 50 years ago, we need something completely different. And if you're not prepared to drive that and fight those fights, then maybe you need to wait. And so I love all the young people that are running. I am so thrilled. When I got the phone calls, I was like tickled to death. You know why? They're all very bright and they all really, really care. And they're all homegrown. So everybody, you know what I mean? It's like so I'm really excited, but I would say that um, economics and quality are crucial. If those aren't your strengths, then go get that preparation.
Or bring people on who are, like you said, who are experts in it, because you don't. It is. I was started to say earlier. We don't need to be. We are here in our purpose. God gave us all purpose, and that purpose doesn't mean that we need to be everything to everybody. We need to be really good in that one thing and have and know, like you said, and know when to bring somebody on who is more versatile in that space, who can help lead with direction. And I was sharing earlier that this is my third event. And the event that I just went to was, speaking at a school, and we were just talking to the kids about leadership and what leadership is and what it isn't. And I said, leadership is being able to go into a space and be able to manage your own emotions so that you can take care of a situation regardless of what's going on. Ma'am. And so what I'm hearing you say, it sounds like you need to be applying to be the mayor of the town. I'm just saying, but I know your wife is like, no,
no, we ain't gonna do that. No, funny. Listen, sister, I love it. I thank you. I've heard that so much, but we have to know where we are as it relates to time.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not a spring chicken. To transform the city, it's going to need 2 terms. I don't mean to where we are there, right? I'm talking about where you can see drastic difference. It's not the same place. Right. Well, unlike the United States of America, Trenton doesn't need an 80-year-old mayor. You know what I mean? And so, and I don't need power. I like being Brother Gene, I like just call me up, ask me a question, I help you out, donate a little money here, there, donate a little money there, go to these events, go speak to children. And, I sit on the school board. I've been doing that for 10 years. This is my last term at that, because you got to know time, right? When time's up. But yeah, so I think your point was very important. Leadership is about decision making.
Yeah.
And sometimes, so I'm gonna let the cat out the bag. I wrote another op-ed. I get triggered. That's what makes me write it. Somebody said something. I said, oh my God, I got no. And then I start writing again. So,
but that's good because you're leaving information for the next generation to be able to have something to search and to learn from. So that's great. Yeah. I'm glad that you're doing that.
This topic that we're on right now is my op-ed. The editor just sent me a note because I had used a word that people might confuse. I used the word youth. Well, the word youth, when you think about youth, you think about children and teenagers. Just that word, right? Where even though compared to this old man, 30, 40-year-old people are still youth, I had to change it to our young people. So it gets published tomorrow. I think it's going to be an interesting read. My prayer is that folks really, there is so many good people in this city that I live in. And I mean this from my heart. There's so much good that goes on in this city. But most things are in silos. Like this organization does this organization does that, and they work. Like you can see, feeding people, clothing people, all that stuff. When you have high concentrations of poverty, it's unnecessary. Yeah. But what's that old saying? Feed a man today, he eats for the day. Teach him how to fish, he'll eat for the rest of your life. So hand in hand, you need to do both. And so, yeah. So anyway, I think, thank you. That was really cute. I kind of figured you was going to say that. You need to run. No, thank you. When I started writing the first op-ed, I started off with that sentence. I am not running
for office. But I mean, people start off with that. I mean, you had what's her name? Hillary Clinton. She was saying till she was blue in the face that I'm not running. I never run. That's never anything I do. and then she ended up running. So
Yeah, because she likes power and stuff like that. I don't need none of that stuff.
You do have, I mean, because I want to say being a mentor, which is another thing that I talked about too with the young people today, was making sure that you have a mentor, because you can't possibly know everything, regardless of, and you don't want to experience everything either. I was like, there are things that I've experienced that I don't want my next neighbor to have to go through, because it's not necessary. If I can tell you something about how to structure your contracts, how to structure your board, how to manage, volunteers, how to engage with people, how to be more personal, if I can help just one person, then I feel like I have served my purpose. And so and that in itself is power. So I wouldn't say that you're not looking for the power, and maybe you're not looking for it, but you do have it. Because people are listening to what you're saying and putting all these op-eds, creating this book, being on boards and spaces and helping to guide and direct people. Like you're doing God's work. And I just want to say thank you. If people have not given you your flowers, I want to give you your flowers by saying thank you for everything that you are doing and how you're continuing to show up.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, but in Christianity and Islam, we have a responsibility for what we know. What good is it? What good is what you know if you can't share it and it affects other people, right? Absolutely. Some people know, well, some people know all the wrong stuff too. So let's not go down that road. But scripture, God requires of us to be of service, right? So when you think about it, just this book and the op-eds is Brother Gene trying to be of service, because I've lived a long time. I've done a lot of different things, and as it relates to business, right? Like here, you're gonna love this one, right? So I don't know, you're probably too young, but do you remember key punch operators? No, IBM 360 key punch operators. Yeah. You remember that, right? Right. Mm-hmm. So when I first became a manager, it was in the 70s. And how I got into management was through key punch operating. That was my springboard into management, right? With New Jersey Bell Telephone Company. Well, Bell Telephone Company doesn't exist anymore. So that shows you how much a dinosaur I am. But then when I got promoted, I went into microfiche. So if you ever went to pay your bill at a billing office, they looked your bill up on microfiche. So I've been in management, operations, and quality all these years. And so what kind of man would I be if I didn't see people making mistakes and pull, hey, try to pull your coat and say, hey, you might want to consider this. It's your option. You can accept it or reject it. Absolutely. It's all relative, but having alternatives is really important. And then like I'm the kind of guy who, and I'm sharing this, right? I'll have a conversation with you and I won't charge you a dime because God blessed me with the knowledge. Yeah. When you want me to do some work, I'm going to charge you. I'm sorry. They're going to be silly again. I'm sorry.
No, but that is so true. So, well, thank you. We're coming up on time. Brother Gene, it is already, I know.
Holy mackerel.
I feel like time always just seems to go faster than we expect. I do have one last question to ask you. I think we asked you this last time, but I'm always curious, especially as life happens and things change, to hear what you think what Juneteenth means to you today.
Yeah, so you asked me a loaded question, sis. Yeah, you really, really, really do. Because I think anything that celebrates Black people and our accomplishments, our transitions, is a very good thing. Absolutely. But when people who look like us actually benefit from, people who don't look like us making products and T-shirts and cups and flags and all kind of stuff, selling it to us.
Yep, and we buying it.
I have I have a problem with that. What's even more is the celebration of Juneteenth, just in my humble opinion, to take us back to a time at the end of the Civil War when we didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. And through our perseverance, our unity, our focus, and our commitment to freedom and liberation,
absolutely,
we transformed the 20th century in spite of Jim Crow.
We did.
And so what I would hope that Juneteenth does is it takes us back to a time so where we can produce for self. We have to stop depending. I remember, like if you know anything about the Nation of Islam, the first thing is do for self, right? And I remember, so I joined in the 70s, right? And so I remember that every time I got a job or worked, and I won't say job because it was bigger, I was looking to be there for a time, earn enough income to do something else. So that's a career, right? So I've had several careers. Do for self means you earn enough. Stop working for $15 an hour. Stop working for $10 an hour. Stop working to hope someone gives you a $15 tip, and go get yourself a certification, here you go, or a degree. Think about this. We got these young brothers in the community, right, who are hustling. They don't have no record yet, thank God. Why don't you go to vocational school and someone become a mason, someone become a carpenter, someone become a plumber, someone become an electrician,
We need all of those.
and someone get an accounting certification, set up an LLC, and build and hire your own people. That's what happened. If you think about it, Black Wall Street, all of those Black towns that were productive, they were people who leveraged each other's strength to build a community in which we could thrive. So that's Juneteenth to me is optimistic, because that means that things can be different in the future if we shed the dependency on folks. So here you go. I'll end on this note. I remember, I don't know whether I read it or I heard it, that Elijah Muhammad said, "He who will not teach you right will not treat you right." That reality, when you look at our history and now they're trying to erase it, man, you got to be suspect. That means you go to your elders, you partner, and you try to build for yourself. Like, okay, so I'm in Trenton, and I'm going to close on this note. Juneteenth to me means that Black folks need to have a laundromat because everybody got to wash their clothes. And a supermarket because everybody got to eat.
Everybody eat,
Everybody got to eat, right? And so we got some really great developers, young Black developers in the city building up stuff. So those are the things that you got. Oh, listen to this. We can't even go and have a nice function at a nice place because we don't have a spot where you could have large parties. So we got a bunch of vacant factories. So let's get a vacant factory, do the construction, then it becomes a banquet facility with a industrial kitchen, and you don't have to open it like a restaurant. It's just there for the community to go and have parties and weddings and bar mitzvahs and all that kind of stuff. Seat 400 people. That's what Juneteenth means to me, that we could do stuff like that by pooling our resources and loving each other a little harder.
I love that. Thank you so much, Brother Gene.
Yes, ma'am.
Pulling our resources and and working together. So thank you so much for that, Gene. You have poured into us today in so many ways, in so many different respects. You showed wisdom, you showed warmth, you showed your comedic side of you.
I never knew I was funny.
You are an example, a true example what it means to thrive in purpose and wellness. And I just want to say thank you. And again, continue to give you flowers.
Praises belongs to God. Thank you, sis.
For continue to show up. So thank you. Again, I'm going to put you backstage while I close this out, and then I'll be back to say
yes, ma'am. Thank you for the honor of being here, sister. I enjoyed the time with you. We've had fun last year. We had fun this year. It's a wonderful thing. And God bless your work, because you're exposing our people to things that they may never get exposed to. So, so thank you very much for what you do.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for being here with us and joining us on today. That was really rich. I hope you got some really good nuggets out of it. I wrote down a whole bunch of good nuggets talking about economic development, creating opportunities, knowledge of self. We think and act as one, like so many good things. Even I'm going to definitely take a look at that Good to Great book that Brother Gene shared and talked about. So we thank you again for continuing to be in this space. As I close out, I do want to just remind you, we're looking forward to you joining us on this weekend. If you have not already purchased your tickets, we are doing a special for our Black Hair African Intelligence Hair Summit this weekend. It will be on Sunday and on Monday. We are doing a 2-for-1 sale. So in the spirit of Valentine's Day, if you are interested in joining us, you can go to the website on the screen to be able to connect to us. We're going to have some fun. If anytime, any space that I'm in, we always are going to have some fun. And we've been talking about that for the last couple of months. We are having conversations about natural hair, about locks, about barbering, getting haircuts. Like all of those things are a part of our story and the stories that have been stolen from us. I've learned so much about Afro picks and just everything. Look, I just being on the end of the creation support for this endeavor has been amazing. So we look forward to having you join us and be a part. Come for a couple of sessions, come for the entire time. However you have the space, please do. We have tickets still available, and it's virtual. Both days are virtual so that you can be anywhere and still be able to partake. Join after church, join while you're cooking dinner, whatever it is, but please join us. We look forward to having you. So as I close out, Brother Gene again has shown us that fighting for a city isn't about making noise. It's about stewardship. It's about systems that work, finances that are transparent, institutions that serve people fairly, and leaders who understand that authority is a responsibility. It is not a privilege. A city we're fighting for is built on trust. It is sustained by integrity, and it is protected by leaders who are willing to stand in the gap, even when they are not fully prepared, by bringing other people in the space with them. So thank you, Brother Gene, for modeling what principled leadership looks like, and for reminding us that when we fight for our cities with strategy and heart, we fight for generations we may never get to meet. So this is how communities are strengthened. This is how legacy is built, and this is what it means to lead. Thank you, Athenia Rodney, CEO and founder of Juneteenth NYC, and I bid you a great day, everyone. Bye.
This is more than a bundle. This is a VIP experience. Premium hair care, beauty essentials, self-care must-haves. One powerful package. The African Intelligence VIP package. Only $99. Scan the QR code. Register now.